Hello, ho, ho, and welcome to the Casual Gamecast, a weekly video game podcast for the everyday gamer, brought to you by the team at Casual Game Content and friends. This week, folks, we're going to have a quick one, and we're going to jump straight into the topic, which, being in the festive season, is going to be what are the best Christmas video games and or levels that we can think of. And we're going to have a bit of a banter about it, and then we're going to get this straight on out of there. So a nice nippy one for you this week, folks. But as always, I am Phil Keogh, and I'm joined by the lovely Shane Bowe. Hello, Shane.
Hello.
And of course, we have a very handsome guest is back again. I don't know whether I'm making you blush or not. I'm really
very blushed, very blushed. You said it last week as well. I didn't know how to react, and then I was listening back to that. And I was like, "Jeez, I really have to say thank you."
I'm worried you're kind of going to go away and go, God, does this guy have a crush on me or something? Do we need to have an awkward conversation? But yes, of course, if I'm saying all these things, it can be nobody else but Ciaran Busby. Hello, Buzz.
How's it going? Thanks a million, Phil. What a fantastic intro. Thanks for having me back again, actually, as well. Very enjoyed it. Very hungover too.
Very hungover because I believe you were a bad boy and enjoyed the Christmas festivities a little early.
Yeah, we did. We had a bit of a Christmas night in our house there last night, and the remnants of a hangover is lurching in the back of my head somewhere. And yeah.
Are you even Irish if you're not hungover for most of December? That's the question,
Exactly.
But with that, let's not incriminate ourselves any further, folks, and let's jump right in, as I promised, to this week's topic of the week. So please, if you wouldn't mind, play that thing. I'm just going to say it's the topic of the show. So guys, this week we wanted to jump into something a bit more festive because this is our second to last recording of the year before we start doing our Christmas vacation planning, which means that we're going to record a batch of episodes, some kind of fun ones for you guys to release over the holiday season and let your boys get some rest and have our own hangovers. But because we're getting near the end of our own physical recordings, we wanted to do something Christmassy, so that's why this week's topic is less heavy than the last couple and it's going to be a fun one. Yes, that's right. What are the best Christmas video games? And I think it's a good time to talk about it because when you hear this, you will be halfway through December and you're gearing up for Christmas. And maybe you want to play something Christmassy over that time. And who better to tell you than the Casual Game Content folks and Busby, of course. Now, lads, what do we mean when we say the best Christmas games? Like, does it have to be a game that starts and finishes in the Christmas season? No, it doesn't. It can be a level. It can be a hint of Christmas. It can be whatever, If it is you, playing a Santa, mowing down, an African village of people, and then I'm just kind of running through a Call of Duty campaign as Santa in my head. But you get the idea. If that's what it is, great. But it doesn't necessarily need to be that explicit. So, with all that being said, Shane, I'm going to start off with you. What is a good Christmas game, a Christmas-themed game?
So, at first I found this a little difficult. When you posed the question, Christmas games, without using the internet, I was like, what Christmas games are? None exist. He's making it up. There's no such thing as Christmas games.
Oh my God, nobody's ever tapped this market.
No, we're going to be millionaires. But then I realized we have Google in this world. So I Googled some things. And a few came up. One that I actually really enjoyed, I thought was really fun, and I really liked the Christmas setting in it, was Arkham Origins.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Arkham Origins is even the intro, cinematic of Arkham Origins talks about how everyone was heading home for Christmas, and then there was, the villains did a thing, so everyone got locked in their houses for Christmas and stuff, which meant it was a good explanation as to why is there no pedestrians in Arkham City while Batman's kicking ass and stuff.
You have to imagine that was 90% of the reason they chose Christmas was to explain the empty city, wouldn't you?
Yeah. They do that stuff like that before. It's a good way of getting around having to program NPCs and whatnot. But I really like that kind of empty Gotham at Christmas was kind of it brought me back to the Tim Burton kind of Batman movies. I was like, it has a real aesthetic going for it that I really like. I like in real life even, when you walk through your hometown or whatever at Christmas and it's really quiet and empty and there's no one around. I like that whole aesthetic and I think Batman did it quite well.
Yes.
That's just my hometown, to be honest with you. Empty, home, quiet.
That's Monaghan. That's Monaghan.
Yeah.
It's the whole county.
And speaking of that, like that's a great point, because I feel the festive seasons, like not even just Christmas, like Halloween, Valentine's Day, you know, like anything that kind of has merchandise against it, I feel is great when video games focus in on it, because they do them so rarely. But I love the idea of a video game taking place in a time period, and especially if it's forever locked in that time period. So say, for example, it's not a Christmas one, but The Last of Us is locked in perpetual Halloween because it happened at that time. But my example that I'm going to bring up here as my first game is one that is locked in a perpetual Christmas, and that's The Division, the original Division. And even the sequel.
Yeah. Yes, I forgot about Division.
Now, your point about Arkham Origins being forever Christmas and being the empty city, that by 10 almost with the Division, because you get this beautiful New York, and it's pretty accurate, and you know, it's just covered in that snowscape and the, you know, Christmas decorations that just were never taken down, and you do have a decent amount of people, you know, still roaming around and shooting the bejesus out of you. But I remember thinking that game was like mediocre to great at times, but the setting was phenomenal. I really liked that setting an awful lot. But like, you give me any setting at any kind of festive season indefinitely, and give me a kind of a post-apocalyptic twist, yeah, I'm in, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, following on from your point there, just about like a beautiful New York, all Christmassy, and being locked in that kind of setting as well. Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS5 is incredible for that.
Yes.
Like you can't get any more beautifully accurate to New York, I don't think, in a video game where it hasn't been done yet anyway.
No.
And even the narrative of the game and everything is very much rooted around, like, you know, family, and there's a lot of good moments where you actually have like Christmas dinner and that. And yeah, very, very good game at like kind of conveying Christmas and being locked in that time period, and then it's not empty, because thanks to the power, man, of the PS5, if you have it in performance mode or whatever, it's going to be able to have plenty of people on the streets there walking around doing the Christmas shopping.
That's
and
right.
being hit by octopus tentacles or, you know, whatever.
You make a good point. It was probably the game that kind of like displayed the facets of Christmas, you know, better than any other I can think of, because you do have Christmas dinner, and you do talk to people doing their shopping, and you know, there's like carols being played at times, and you're doing, you know, you're dealing with family matters. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, even though it is a bombastic superhero game, like it probably is the closest and most heartfelt representation of Christmas I can think of in a video game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Apart from Angry Birds Christmas Edition, like, you know, that's...
Well, there's only so much a man can do, you know.
How do you compete with those little weird shaped birds, you know?
For God's sake, they've got 2 movies, people. But yeah, no, that's a fantastic example. Before we kind of move on to another one, does anybody have any other superhero centric ones? Because now I know that we have 2 in the mix there. Is there any other ones?
I thought I seen one earlier on in my what's the word I'm looking for? Research. That's the word I'm looking for.
Well, if it doesn't come to mind, we don't have to pull one out. I was just wondering.
No, do you know what? There's actually, I was wrong. I did not see another one. So
well, there we go. The first letdown of Christmas, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I'm going to kick in with my next suggestion, and this is always the first game that comes to my mind. I wish I was better at like pulling footage and stuff together, because this is one you need to see. Is the first game I ever remember actually having Christmas content, apart from like Mega Drive games where there would be like a snow level and, you know, trees and stuff. Is Toy Commander on the Dreamcast, which is a video game where you control toys in a living room, like, but to that scale, you know. So like, you are literally flying the little toy plane that a child would fly or whatever, and the whole idea is, and the whole conceit is that a child is holding it, but you obviously don't see the child, you're just controlling the plane. But it's kind of like a Smash Bros child playing with their toy scenario. But there was DLC, and I remember that being the first time I even heard of DLC, because that console could hook up to the internet via the Windows compatibility in it. Yeah. Like the first Windows, before Microsoft had an Xbox, they worked with Sega on the Dreamcast to bring broadband capabilities to it. And so this is where DLC was kind of born, outside of console DLC. And this was one of the first examples where there was a Christmas DLC where it put a Christmas tree into the living room play space, and it gave you kind of like a couple of missions where you'd fly around, you'd do little bits and bobs, and eventually you'd unlock a radio controlled Santa with like a jetpack on his back, and you were like tasked to fly around the house getting gifts and put them under the tree. It controls like crap, but it is fun as all hell. And I do say, if you have an emulator or if you have a Dreamcast and you can access it, run Don't Walk. It's a pretty fun time at Christmas time.
One that just came to mind as well when you were kind of talking about that older generation is I never remember Sarge's Heroes.
Yes, the
on
Army
PS1,
Men games.
3DO. Such a good game, but like the last couple of levels are like going through Christmas and like the real world or whatever, like. And I just remember this bad black sheep of a dog that would come over and just like destroy your final run to get to this portal to bring you back to the toy world or whatever, like, or the Army Men world. And just could never get through the level. I don't think I ever did. Don't think I ever finished that game.
I just remember those Army Men games on the PS1 is where I played them. My cousins had them, and I remember being like 8 or 9 or 10 or so, trying them out, trying to beat them, and just getting so frustrated. They were like, they had great potential, but they were just never really that well made or something.
Yeah, I love them though to bits, and like even some of the voice acting and stuff in it as well is phenomenal.
Yes,
look back and it's like it's great.
Did you ever see? I know we're going off topic, but did you ever see that there was an Army Men game where I think it's the last one they made. It's like there is a super soldier army man who is like a deformed looking army man, and he's going to be like the Terminator of army men essentially, and your job is to like hunt down the army men. It's like it's notoriously bad PS1 game. If you at home know what I'm talking about, please put it in the comments below. But do look that one up if you're a fan of the games. It's supposed to be terrible.
Definitely. Because they eventually made their way onto the PS2 as well, actually, and like they had really realistic like plastic chunks getting blown out of Sarge and stuff, and it was just mad. What a mad time for games.
You're right. It was
bring
actually
those
the
games
PS2.
back.
It was the PS2 now that you mention it. But yes, bring that franchise back, and in Christmas form, if at all possible. Who wants to go next? Anybody have any other examples?
Yes, I have another one. This one is controversial in outside the video game landscape as well. For potentially, is it or isn't it Christmas involved?
Is it Die Hard?
Die Hard.
It is Die Hard.
On the PS1.
It's Die Hard.
I was thinking about that. I was going to say it. I was like, it doesn't count, does it, surely?
Yeah. The Die Hard games, the PS1, like Die Hard games.
The Die Hard trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, set at Christmas, the same as the Die Hard movie.
Well, two of the trilogy.
Two.
I don't believe in Red of Vengeance is it?
No, actually, I think you're right.
Yeah. But you are right in the sense that in that PS1 game, even you do hear John McClane going ho 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 and whatever like. So 100%. That 100% tracks.
Yeah, 100% tracks. It's not controversial gaming wise. I just there's the whole controversy of is Die Hard a Christmas movie, and yeah, I don't know.
I thought you were going to say like Postal or something. It's like he's like the Santa that brought death to your door.
Man, have you played those games lately? Those Die Hard originals?
God, no, not since they originally came out on the PS1. I think it's the only time I have vivid memories of going through the airport, that particular level, but that's the only part of that game that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, like the second movie game that's in it. That's like the railgun shooter. It's like a
Time Crisis or whatever.
Yeah, what did they call the gun on PlayStation again? I can't remember. The Time Crisis gun. It had a name. Encon or something, was it?
Encon was the gun,
Yeah, but like that was the first level of that, wasn't it? It was like going through the airport or whatever. But you remember like the first game that like top down almost looked like 3D GTA 1 or something, and you're going through the levels of the hotel up and up and up. and it was just kind of a third person behind the guy almost, but from a top perspective shooter. Man, that thing is balls hard, and like I've tried
Very
going back
difficult.
to it recently. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And the third one's just like a driver or something, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, it's like Driver with like time bombs around the city,
Yeah.
and you have to get to them, and you have like milliseconds to get to each one, and it's balls hard as well.
very hard.
I remember I had like my 9th or 8th birthday or something like that, and was it no, it was actually my 10th birthday, because I remember other things that happened on that birthday too, and I had 2 games brought over by friends for, you know, it was mostly out. We were 10. We played outside mostly, and, you know, hide and seek and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And when we came in, the whole idea was, oh, we're going to play some video games. Cool. And my buddy brought over 2 PlayStation games. One was the Die Hard trilogy, which, as we just established, and dear God, I must have offended Busby. He's just gone. He's just gone. And he's back. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Christmas miracle. But one of the games the guys brought was the Die Hard trilogy, which was balls hard, as we established, and the other one was, do you remember the Independence Day PS1 game?
Oh, I don't
Never
actually know.
played it, no.
Oh, don't play it. It's woeful bad. It's a flight sim that's incredibly badly programmed. But like, can you imagine like a room full of 10-year-olds trying to wrap their heads around the Taxi Die Hard with a Vengeance game and then a terrible flight sim? It wasn't a good time. We put on Crash Bandicoot pretty quickly. But with that, actually, Crash Bandicoot 2 is it technically Christmassy themed? I guess not, but it's wintry and it has a polar bear. So if you're just looking for those feels, I guess you could go there.
Yeah.
But I do have an example, and again, it kind of falls into the perpetual Christmas thing, if I remember correctly. And this is a game I play most Christmases. I actually just downloaded it again in preparation. Is Dead Rising 4, which
Yes.
takes
Ooh.
place entirely in a shopping mall at Christmas as Frank West going around killing hundreds of zombies, thousands and thousands of zombies. That game is pretty baller with its Christmas content, because it allows you to dress up and it allows you to use Christmas decorations in obscene ways to get to the end goal, which is kill a bunch of zombies, and it's great fun. Christmas carols galore as well.
Yeah, Dead Rising is like just fun games.
Yeah.
You know, like they're never going to set the world on fire. They're never going to win the Oscar of video games or anything. But man, they're so fun.
Well, I'll give it one thing, is that like it did change the world a little bit, because I know I'm not the only one that will say the first Dead Rising game made me buy a HD TV.
Oh.
I don't
Why
know
was
if you
that?
can remember this, but there's tiny writing in that game that if you didn't have a
Oh.
HD TV, good luck to you, son. You weren't going to do it. And that game's like surprisingly complex. Like, unless you follow the objectives, it's over pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah.
But if you do, all of a sudden it becomes a zombie RPG where you can make it last for 3 days worth of real time. I even went out of my way to lock myself in the locker and wait the 3 days of time or whatever until I got picked up, and I was literally just playing other video games on a handheld while I was letting this thing run in the background. But yeah, that game, I go back to it the whole time because it is just kind of fun, stupid. Okay, I've just eaten my Christmas dinner. I need to explode on the couch. Don't want to think too much. Let's kill some zombies. Let's do this. So yeah, it's a good one for that, and it has the Christmas feels.
I actually haven't played Dead Rising since the third one. What's the fourth one like, apart from Christmas Fields?
It's pretty great.
Really the same?
It is pretty great because you're back. Like the third one was where you were playing as that weird. He's almost like a stand-in from the guy from Death Stranding, Norman Reedus, wasn't he? He's that kind of biker dude or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're back as Frank West, and you're pretty much back to, I would go so far as to say it's the best one. I know that these games, as Shane said, never set the world on fire in terms of, you point to it, for video game greatness. But it did do a couple of things fantastically, which is the real world time simulator thing that goes on in it. That was kind of a first.
Yes.
And it uses that to great effect even now. And then also, like, the sheer amount of zombies you can have on one screen is still impressive to this day. So it does those things well. But then you bring in the graphical fidelity. You bring in the fact that in 3, they took themselves a bit too seriously. And in 4, they really don't. Like, they just go balls to the wall. And they really lean into the Christmas aspect as well, which is kind of cool. But, like, the reason I think it stands up as possibly one of the best Christmas games is, much like Miles Morales, it really leans into the aesthetic. So, like George Romero tapped into something amazing when he said zombies, but in a shopping mall. You know, so I was like, oh, so I have like all these shops and I can do whatever I want and I have all these tools. And then Dead Rising comes along and says zombies, but in a shopping mall also, and you can do all these things. And just like, oh great, I can pick up a golf club and I can pick up strimmers or whatever. And then 4 comes around and goes, but what if Christmas? And it's like, oh, it's lovely. It's just like Christmas time in a shopping mall in America. Like, come on, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Well, don't you mean chopping mall?
Ooh, you bitch. But yeah, that one definitely of my picks gets my my honorary star for sure.
Awesome. I actually can't think of any more.
There is one recently that I don't know if I would say it's like a top one, but I think it's worth mentioning. Is the most recent Assassin's Creed, Creed Valhalla. For anyone who bought a new generation console, Valhalla has Christmas DLC, which was free, and I don't know, was it seasonal? Maybe you can't.
Yeah, it was a seasonal event because I played Valhalla. No, I didn't play Valhalla around Christmas. When I played it, it was coming into like, what's that, like where they dance around a maypole and all that crap, the harvest or
summer.
Whatever. And there was a big update for that, and your little like settlement got a maypole, and there was people celebrating and throwing ribbons around the place and stuff like that. So there was like all this seasonal stuff. Halloween featured in the game as well, the original like Samhain festival and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, you're dead right. You're dead right. It had some great Christmas stuff.
Yep, there was like your village had like seasonal games, and you know, you could go and challenge different mini quests, and you know, there was snow was introduced and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. But again, it was seasonal, so I assume they'll run it again, considering that their latest DLC is not long out, and it is the second Christmas for that game. So you would imagine they would do it again, but who knows? But if they do, it's worth checking out. It won't set your world on fire, but it'll be worth checking out if you've got that new console and you want to see something Christmassy.
Exactly, get those Christmas feels. I don't know about you guys, right? But when I think Christmas games, I think Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge on the PS2.
Ooh. Okay, so this game, right? This only came onto my radar in the last year. I never realized it was a thing. I just noticed my glasses are crooked. All right, Santa, please give me non-crooked glasses for Christmas. But I only learned about this game this year, and that's the one that's like a Devil May Cry clone, is it?
Yeah, it's a hack and slash like Devil May Cry, developed by Capcom.
And have you ever played it?
I have weird memories of it. I know I never owned it or anything like that. I think I obviously was maybe at a friend's house or cousin's house or something. And I definitely have a vivid memory of seeing it or being involved with it somehow, but I know I definitely never owned it.
Were you a composer or something? You were involved with it?
I was involved with it at the ripe old age of like 7 or whenever that game came out.
Damn it, he's young, but he's got some good ideas. But yeah, that's what makes that one weird is and the reason I was asking you how you played it is because like Nightmare Before Christmas is big. Like that's a franchise that never lost steam for whatever reason. And like I would have assumed if there was a PS2 hack and slash Nightmare Before Christmas game that wasn't awful, then you would have seen a lot more of it. Like I'm just surprised that it took me like 32 years or whatever to figure out that one existed, you know?
Yeah. I don't remember, like I said, I remember seeing it or playing a little bit of it. I don't remember how good or bad it was.
It's supposed to be pretty good.
Like, at the time, I was God knows what age, I can't even remember. So, to me, every video game was probably awesome because I was getting to play video games.
Yeah.
But it just stuck out when I was doing research earlier on. I was like, I had this light bulb moment of, oh, yeah, I remember something about that, or seeing that, or playing that at some stage.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So
It's weird it's a hack and slash. That's so weird.
Yeah.
it is weird that it's a hack and slash, and from what I understand, the only thing that really drags it down is Jack, who actually like controls pretty well, but apparently he has like 2 or 3 barks that he says every time he does an attack, and apparently you're going to hear the same one again and again and again and again and again for like 12 hours, and that's enough to drive any man insane. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a good one though, following from that, because it's Nightmare Before Christmas as well, so it counts. The Nightmare Before Christmas world in Kingdom Hearts, in the first one.
Oh yeah,
that's true actually. Because do you go to Halloween Town, or do you go to Santa's place? You go to Santa's place in the first game, don't you?
I don't think you do in the first one. I think it's the second one.
Maybe it's the second one. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Halloween Town in the first one, but it's still Nightmare Before Christmas, so it kind of counts,
Yeah. No, I think you genuinely go
like.
to Santa's world in one of them. You start off in his factory or something. I don't know if you get to explore it, but there's something there. There's something there, Busby. There is definitely something there.
Yeah, we got it.
There is. Something else. Borderlands used to have lots of Christmas events or Christmas DLC as well. I don't know about 3, but 2 definitely had a boatload of like. There was a whole saving the Christmas train that carried the presents from the North Pole or some crap. I remember.
Really?
Yeah, there's a whole big like Christmas team thing, and you end up fighting like a giant snowman candy cane boss at the end of it, and he's like a raid boss, so you can fight him for better loot, and he's like really, really difficult and stuff like this. Because I played through Borderlands 2 a while ago with a friend of mine, and I remembered well. I was like, God, I missed this the first time I played Borderlands. This is... I got that Handsome Collection or whatever on PS4.
Yeah.
I missed all this, like, because there's Halloween team DLC, Christmas team DLC. Like, I missed it all the first time, and it's super fun.
Yeah, I never played past the main story, I think, in Borderlands 2. And I probably missed an awful lot of side content along the way. But that's a good one. Yeah, it will probably take you a long time to get to it, though. You're not going to pop in Borderlands 2 on Christmas morning and get to that content, right?
Well, I think you can, because like with the Handsome Collection or whatever, it comes with everything. Everything's unlocked, like all your DLC is included and stuff. And I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of like warping to that particular world.
Well, there you go. Shane is going to have an in-depth walkthrough, by the way, on Christmas morning for anybody that is stuck. So keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. But I think we're after mentioning an awful lot of titles. So how about we use our collective brain trust to narrow it down and name, at least for this year, if not indefinitely, if we never come back to this again, what do we feel is the ultimate Christmas game? We've put out an awful lot out there. So of everything we've discussed, and we have our Dead Risings, we have our Spider-Man Miles Morales, we have Batman Origins, we have of course The Division, and a million other things we mentioned in there. What do we feel, if I went around the room and asked you individually, is the best, not necessarily the best video game, but the best video game we've mentioned here today to pop in to your PlayStation or your Xbox or whatever it is on Christmas morning when you want to play something Christmassy? I'm going to ask Shane.
Spooderman, definitely. I think we spoke about that. It has the best representation of Christmas, and if you really want to get all that Christmas feels and the family closeness and the chestnuts around an open fire and all that crack, Spooderman.
That is hard to argue with. It's the warmest of all of them, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
it is.
Like the other games did something cool, like The Division. Like, it's a cool take on the whole idea of Christmas, but it's not Christmas. It just looks like Christmas. Busby, what about you, man?
Yeah, I was gonna say Spider-Man. I'll go off the wall and I'll say something like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone on the PS1, because it's got that bit Christmas. It's a bit.
I've been wanting to go back and play that game. Does that hold up, I wonder?
I guarantee it doesn't. The only thing I've seen about it is TikTok Hagrid now.
Yeah. Like Hagrid's big like Dorito head. That's what I want to see. I want all of that Dorito up on my business. But the Spider-Man Miles Morales is your choice.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Okay.
I think it's gonna win.
Okay. Well, I'm the host, so I get to overrule you all. Dead Rising is a game. No. For me, it would be Dead Rising, just because that's my own weird taste. But I have to concede that if it is on the merit of what is the best Christmas experience, I have to agree with you. It is Miles Morales, and it's because of the tone as well. You know, like, it's not just because of the fact of the family interactions and there's actual Christmas happening and you get to see a Christmas dinner and there's lights and, you know, everything else that comes on, you know, in between all that. Like, it's just the fact that it is kind of more lighthearted and you really do kind of feel kind of jovial and happy swinging around. And for the love of God, we get, like, Spider-Man in a woolly hat and a scarf. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough right there. You know?
Ever since I got that suit, I just couldn't play it any other way. Like, you can't.
From the moment I unlocked the Daft Punk type suit, I never took it off. I was just like, nope, this is cool as all hell. No, it is cool. It is cool. What do we think about the new Spider-Man that's coming out? Are we all going to see it, or does anyone just not care?
The movie? Oh yeah, I'll go give it a watch. Like, I'm not too fussed anymore. I'm kind of superhero fatigued at the minute. Across the board, DC, Marvel, the whole job lot. But I'll go see it. It looks fun. It's going to drag me back for that whole nostalgia factor of, you know, Green Goblin and Doc Ock and all that jazz.
And apparently Green Goblin's like the main villain in this one. It was just said, so like, that's bizarre, but okay. Yeah. Willem Dafoe. I hope to God it's Willem Dafoe and it's not Franco after his like weird sexual exploits recently. But
I know it is Dafoe.
It is Dafoe. It's
Thank God. But with all that being said, guys, back on topic. Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're locking it in as the CGC choice for your Christmas 2021 playing. If you do, and actually we should probably specify, if you're lucky enough to open up a PlayStation this Christmas, or if you have a PlayStation 5 already at this point, this is the game that we recommend. And if you can't and you can only get an Xbox, get Dead Rising 4. But with all that being said, guys, I think that is that topic. Now, let's take a really quick break and then come back, and I want to ask you a very specific question, but I'm going to wait until we come back, okay? So, with all that said, play that thing. So, I'm going to be asking you what this is just a pad out another 5 or 10 minutes. So, what do you play at Christmas time? It doesn't have to be Christmas related. It's just like, for me, it's like Skyrim and Fallout and shit like that. That's just like, okay, I'll just put hours into, you know? Yeah. All right. And we are back. Now, what I teased before the break was I was going to ask the boys a quick question. And this quick question is as follows. So we've talked about games to play at Christmas time that are Christmas themed. But for me, as a gamer, Christmas is a lovely time of year where I have extra days off that I can now spend playing video games. And maybe seeing some family. And maybe doing some, whatever. But playing video games. So, my question to you guys is, when the Christmas season comes around, what games scream to you, this is the time to play them? Doesn't have to be Christmas related. It can be if that's how you roll. But what games come to mind? For me, it's always something RPG like, or a lot of the time it's kind of Western RPGs. Your Witchers, your Fallout 4s, your Skyrims, that type of thing. I like to be immersed. So if there's a new one of those on the horizon, bang, I'll jump straight in. And this year, I just got back into Fallout 4 for whatever reason. So it's most likely going to be that and a little bit of Halo campaign. But, Shane, what about you? What games scream Christmas to you?
So, I'm kind of the opposite to you, because I have the affliction of working in retail at Christmas. So, not much time off. So, I go the opposite way of something I can pick up and play and put down really quick and easy. So usually that is some form of probably a car racing game, like probably Need for Speed or something like that. Mm-hmm. Something arcadey racer that I can pick up, do a race or two and go, right, I'm just like wrecked. I just need to chill out now and watch some TV. I can turn it off again without getting sucked in for too long at a time.
Yeah. And this Christmas you could probably play Forza Horizon 5. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Sorry.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm going to start one of those campaigns where maybe like a Revolut vault situation where every purchase I make, like it puts 10 cent into a little vault where it's like Shane's Xbox fund or something, and by next Christmas I'll have enough that I'll just turn up at your gaff with like, hey, now play the goddamn game.
I could just like get that xCloud streaming service thing. I have pretty good internet.
That could actually genuinely work.
Yeah, I have really good internet. Like,
yeah, from what I've heard, that's actually a fantastic way to do it. Get your laptop or your PC or your tablet or whatever, and just get a Game Pass subscription and see how you go.
It works really well. My boss has been playing Forza on his phone on his lunch break, using just 5G, and it is crisp out.
Wow!
No way.
Wow! Using 5G.
Yeah, he's got 5G on whatever network he's on, and he just like hooks up an Xbox controller with Bluetooth to his phone, pops it up on the shelf or whatever when he's finished having his sandwich. And I walked in the other day into the break room, and here he was like banging a race in Forza out of it, and like frame rates were class, graphics were class, load times are a bit longer of course, but like savage, really good.
Oh well, there you go. Now you have zero excuses, and I'm gonna completely take back that console I was planning on buying you now.
Damn, I done myself out of an Xbox.
That's what I'll get you for Christmas this year is like just a Game Pass gift card. Boof, there you go.
There you go.
Very good. Actually, do you need Game Pass Ultimate to access that, don't you? You need the like top tier Game Pass, don't you?
I think so, yeah.
Worth it though.
Yeah.
For the extra couple of euros. Buzz, when I say Christmas, you say
cheese. I don't know why that's the first thing that came to my head, but yeah, Christmas and cheese.
Nice
Christmas cheese.
It's a cheesy Christmas at the Busby house.
I'm in the weird situation that this Christmas I am lining up to play Horizon Zero Dawn because I've never played it before, and I really am excited for Forbidden West next year. So I kind of want to get playing it, but usually it would be kind of the same as yourself, like some of the bigger games, you know, that maybe like 30 plus hours, all that kind of crap, because you actually have that bit more time. So Horizon for me this year. I think last year I played Immortals Phoenix Rising quite a bit, which was like a kind of a sleeper hit from Ubisoft. I mean, like I saw it got kind of not slated, but only got kind of standardish reviews everywhere.
Yes.
And I wrote my review, and it was like before I had seen anything, and I was like, "This is the best game of the year. This is like it improves on Breath of the Wild. You need to play this game." And I was like, "Well, that didn't age well."
Well, that was kind of their own fault, though. Like they came out swinging by comparing themselves so, even just visually comparing themselves so much to Breath of the Wild, which is like me included, like a lot of people's favorite game of the last generation, and like to do it so blatantly is commendable, but also you kind of bring that ire upon yourself of like you can't help but compare the two, and when one is like hailed as a 10 in most places, it's going to be hard to like beat at 11, you know what I mean? So you're always going to be brought down a notch or two.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good game though.
I must try it. I hear great things.
Me too.
I hear great things. Yeah,
I would. I think it's in Game Pass, maybe.
I don't know. It might be, but I remember I was holding out for a Switch port, and then that came out, and I seen it wasn't performing very well, so I went, oh no. But that's that. But then again, I played a lot of Witcher on the Switch, so I guess my standards aren't that high. But anyway, I digress. So, with all that being said, Horizon is on your play this year. Now, that is interesting because I also played Horizon over a Christmas 2 or 3 years ago, and that game is wonderful. Like, that is such a good game. And have you access to a PS5?
I do.
Okay, make sure and play that in. I think you can only play it in performance mode. I think it's locked into it actually. But if it's not, make sure it is, because that game in 60 frames a second is phenomenal. It looks so good. So good.
Cool. No, I'm definitely gonna give it a go.
Yeah, for sure. And especially when you're in those snowy levels, you're gonna get all those Christmas vibes. So, good choice. And again, Fallout 4 probably for me. So I think we're, with the exception of Shane, who unfortunately has to clock in that retailer whose name we shan't speak apart from that one time, if you noticed. But apart from Shane, who has to get back in and out and get a game in where he can, I think the general consensus here is that just get something cozy you can get lost in for a while. And preferably don't be in retail at Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can attest to that.
Can we talk about that for a moment? Dear God, I used to, as you know, Shane, I used to work in retail for years, and like Christmas is just that time of year where it's non-stop, and it's like it gets worse and worse the closer it gets to Christmas.
Yeah.
And then because of January sales, it stays that bad until like the middle of January. It's terrible. It's like the one time a year everyone's supposed to relax. You're going through your most stress. It's terrible.
Yeah, it really is. But look, it is what it is. I am actively trying to escape, and I will someday.
This
Or I
YouTube channel is going to explode any day now.
Yeah.
Any day now.
Blow up.
Yeah. Or I just have severe Stockholm syndrome, and I'm never going to leave again.
Yeah, well, yeah, one or the other. But if you at home want to help Shane out, you can subscribe to this very YouTube channel. You can follow this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to it, and you can share it and do all the rest. And whilst we're saying that, how about we take this one home? So, guys, if you have been here with us this entire time, thank you very much. You do not know how much your support means to us, but if you do want to do one extra thing for us that will cost you nothing, and it will give your boys some Christmas cheer, okay? It'll really perk up our day, and that's like the podcast, follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast, do all those little things, those little buttons underneath the podcast. Just click them all. Click them all. I don't care what they do. Just click them all. And specifically, share the podcast. And if you could, do share the podcast with a friend or somebody in your community. And this week, I'm going to say that because we are doing a Christmassy themed podcast, how about you get out there? You find the first Santa impersonator you can find. You go up to him and you whisper softly in his ear, Santa, I want a bike this year, but also listen to the Casual Gamecast wherever you get your podcasts. And that will do it. And we will thank you from the bottom of our Christmas hearts. With that, I have been Phil Keogh. I've been joined by Shane. Say goodbye, Shane.
Goodbye, Shane.
And I've also been joined by Ciaran Busby of entertainment.ie. Say goodbye, Ciaran.
Goodbye, audience. Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, what a pair of gents. Thank you, guys. Take care. Be safe. But most of all, stay casual. Good luck.